Hello. Hello. Welcome to Left Footers, the Unlikely Five-a-Side podcast with me, Aaron J.
And me, Jason Stamp. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, mate. How are you? Fresh off the back of a couple of cruises, not just one.
Oh, mate, do you know what? I've been very, very fortunate to be booked for these lovely cruises. And despite what some comics say about these things, the gigs are brilliant. Like, you've got your own room, it's adult only now, it's specifically for that event. There's like 200 plus in every night. It's great. But I don't know how many more times I can look at the Norwegian Fjords. Like, they're beautiful, but you're like, so the first 2 times I did it, I went and explored every time. Obviously, it's the same stops, but I went and explored every time it stopped, which is like 4 times in the week. And then last week, I got off the ship once to go and get a Starbucks and then came straight back and then didn't leave the ship the rest of the week. So yeah, I don't want to sound ungrateful. Everyone else is paying good money for this holiday and I'm being paid to be there. And I'm like, yeah, seen it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And obviously, selfishly out there enjoying the Norwegian fjords, we haven't had a chance to meet to record. So this is our first one for a couple of weeks, I think.
You've moved house as well, so don't blame me, mate. You've been like patching up cat flaps or whatever you've been up to. So building beds that you were very like against record time. So you were well impressed with yourself. So yeah, we've both been busy, but we're back now.
We also did see each other for a gig, and I forgot the plug for the for the interface. So yeah, there's multiple factors at play. Anyway, this week, for those of you that haven't listened, we have a theme where we have to pick the most random five-a-side team we can. This week's theme goes along the virtual realms of Football Manager.
Oh, yeah. Ruined many a relationship, I'd imagine.
Oh, I don't doubt that for a second. So basically, we're picking 5 players that are either well-known Football Manager legends or they're just players that are Football Manager legends to us. And we've got a somewhat affinity with that player virtually, even though in real life, usually their career doesn't go the way it did with us. Which is the case for every single player I've got. Every single player I've got has won a league with me.
You got to look after the people that got you the success, right? You don't go, it's all, there's lots of people get you there, but it's the ones that you hold the trophies up with. I got to admit, this game is at times taken over, like to the point where you just wouldn't look. Like I'm now, as a 42-year-old man with a reasonably busy schedule, but some spare time. The fact I have spare time is the reason I don't have this game on a laptop anymore. I have it on my phone because it's a very basic version. And that's if I'm on a train or I've got time to kill. If I had it on a laptop, I think I would just look up and go, shit, I had a gig 8 hours ago, and a wife, and they've all gone now.
I've had this with the actual computer version where I've played it on the way to gigs on my laptop on like the train and stuff. And I almost feel a little bit begrudged that I have to go and do the gig when I arrive. I'd rather just...
Yeah, it's not a good place to be, mate. I've been like that as well. Or even on the phone version. Do you know what I realised on the phone version, which is very, very sneaky, is you can't see the time on your phone. So like you go, I'll have 20 minutes on this and I'm going to sleep. Like when I get in from a gig or whatever, wife's asleep, don't want to put the telly, don't want to wake her up, but you're still a little bit amped because of the gig or the drive or whatever. You're like, I have 20 minutes on this, just zone out a bit. And then when I do eventually just go, oh, just double check the time. It's like 3:45 in the morning. You're like, shit, it's Wednesday. What am I doing with my life? But winning trophies, right?
Yeah, exactly. Success is success. And she wanted you to be more productive, and you've recently adopted a new tactic. So who's the real
Champions League winner with Middlesbrough, mate, speaks for itself. So let's not just throwing that in her face, but she said I'd never make anything of myself, but here we are.
And you were at Middlesbrough a lot longer. So,
Do you know, so much so that I genuinely met two guys from Middlesbrough last week on the cruise who were chatting to me about the gig, and I wanted to tell them, like, I've won 2 Premier League titles and a Champions League with you. Like, almost like it was in the back of my head, like, they're not going to be anywhere near as impressed with this as you are.
yeah. As if they're going to turn around one day and be like, turn around when you say it and be like, why are you not our manager? And they've got some
Like
unknown guy, haven't they? Michael Carrick or something.
You are wasted in comedy. What we need is, I think that'd be even tougher pitch than, like, imagine that. It's one thing saying, well, I've got to go, I'm going away for a week to these gigs or whatever, but it's another thing saying we're moving to Middlesbrough. I think that's a tougher pitch. I think that's the only reason to move to Middlesbrough is something to do with their football team. Like, and I don't think I've ever been, but I'm just taking a punt. Like,
yeah, we can only assume. Is Middlesbrough the team that you usually go for on Football Manager?
That was the first one, to be honest. I just plucked it out. I did that thing where you start off unattached, and they offered me a job for some reason, so I just took it, and then fluke promotion in the first season, and then like scrapped around for about 5-6 seasons, just getting pumped but doing enough. And then everything clicked, mate. It was a dream. It was a dream. Dan, you'll get me going, mate. I'm just going to end up closing the laptop and start carrying on so I can get them to.
Do you imagine like you was the virtual manager of a football club, but imagine like people on episodes of Under the Cosh talking about you as a gaffer being like,
oh, do you know, I haven't done that. I have done the thing where, like, like I say, I tend to play it just before I'll go to sleep, and then like I'll go, I'll nip to the toilet, and I do find myself in the bathroom mirror doing a press conference about like a shaky 1-0 win against Watford in the cup or something, going, well, we had a blood. These players are banging my door down for a game, and when they want to know why they're not getting picked, I'm going to show them, like, he's got a 4 out of 10 today. Like, do you know what I mean? And then I
really hear you from the other room. What was he doing?
And do you know what? It's that thing's like, who were you talking to? It's like you're almost borderline better off going, I was talking to another woman, like, rather than telling her the truth that I was giving a fake press conference just before brushing my teeth. Like, it's tragic.
Right. Shall we kick off with goalkeepers?
Yeah, you should kick off with goalkeepers.
Okay, I'll kick off with a goalkeeper. So, the team that I tended to go for in recent years is Crystal Palace. So, I think from Football Manager 19 onwards, I've always gone for Crystal Palace as a Prem team.
Right.
Good budget, good setup. They like to invest in youth. That's all me, mate. I'm
You're grassroots. You always have been, mate.
I align with their core values. And I'll be honest with you, first season in 2020 was tricky. Goalkeeper Guata left to go
He
left to go to Getafe.
When they come calling, mate.
Exactly, So I don't know what he'd done to deserve to go to Getafe, but usually it's a last chance saloon, isn't it? But the board were very keen on me signing an English goalkeeper. So I went with Max O'Leary from Bristol City. Young lad, came in, steadied the ship, mate. He was with me when we avoided relegation. He was with me when we qualified for the Champions League. He was with me when we won the Premier League twice and the Champions League. Yet, never got an England cap.
That is shocking, isn't it? Who was in charge of England?
I don't know, judging by Football Manager standards, probably like Steve Coppell, someone like that.
Although it does do that thing where you're like, I remember seeing once that Gary Neville had been made manager of Liverpool, and at that point I wanted to throw it out of a window. I was like...
But what's interesting is I'm comparing him to his actual career to the career that he's got now. He's still at Bristol City. He won a Champions League with me. Never left Bristol City. And at the time when he was playing in the Premier League for Crystal Palace with me, he was actually on loan to Shrewsbury, where he played 30 games in League Two.
Yeah, but just
And
goes to show, like, if they've given him the chance in the Prem with a young, cutting edge manager like yourself and better players around him, who knows what he could have achieved, right?
yeah, I mean that Palace team really was something. But yeah, Max O'Leary actually went on to represent the Republic of Ireland rather than England. So he obviously saw what had happened, the travesty that had happened at Palace.
Is
And
this in real
decided
life or in your game?
In real life, is the Republic of Ireland. So he obviously saw that there might not be a chance to get in, even though, you know, don't let any keeper have a go for England now. He decided, yeah, Republic of Ireland, I'm going to be a second choice to Keith Kelleher.
No, yeah, well, someone I'd never even heard of, let alone considered if he could be a Champions League winner.
I know you didn't. I know you haven't heard of him. I know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you've heard of 2 of my 5. That's going to be my...
That would be good, because I'm going with some Stonewall classics here, so I'm hoping we don't trip over each other with some of these picks. But yeah, that's
we
cool.
won't.
Okay, good. So my keeper, I went with, you got to remember, I'm older than you. So when I first played, it was the classic version of it. I'm trying to think what season it would have been.
Sabutio.
It's Sabutio, yeah. I'm guessing it would have been sort of mid late 90s. But when I like you, nothing gets me more excited in a game of Football Manager or Champion Manager, like it was back in the day when I was obsessed with it, is young English players, getting them in, having that as your core, and then putting them up. Everyone says you can't have a 19-year-old keeper. Yes, you fucking can, mate. You can. If you're just willing to put your faith in youth, then as far as I'm concerned, your team is set for the next 10 years if you get the right ones, right? So I went with Chris Kirkland.
Yeah.
So when he used to join the Gates, it was just after he'd left Coventry for Liverpool. So Jersey Dudek went the same. I think they signed him on the same date. They had Jersey Dudek for less than Chris Kirkland, but Chris Kirkland was like the long-term successor to the guy they bought the same day. It was a weird plan, but he was like 19, played half a season or something for Coventry. Looked like he's going to be the next big thing. And honestly, you put him in, his stats will go through the roof. Incredible keeper. England stalwart, again, not in real life. And then, yeah, back to real life where it's kind of didn't pan out. A lot of injuries. Again, I didn't do this on purpose, but again, mental health issues. I listened to a thing about him where there's a lot of that going on. So, yeah, again, just goes, he had everything. I thought he had everything to be a top keeper, and he had a good career, but I don't think he reached the heights that he would have. If he'd have just come to me, we'd have been fine. But he didn't, and now he's left counting the cost, right? I think 1 England cap, which is more than most, but at the same time, 12 minutes in a friendly, whatever. Who cares, mate? Who cares? I mean, it's more than your keeper got, but still.
Very offensive to the good people of the Republic of Ireland, but fine, each to their own.
Yeah, so Chris Kirk, that's what I'm saying. Wonder Kid.
Okay, no, I like it. I'm going to go for another legend of mine, another successful dynasty that I've created on Football Manager. Little place in the north of England. You might have heard of it. It's called Barnsley.
Heard of it, mate.
Yeah. Big.
It's like the Ibiza of the north, isn't it? Sort of keep hearing under the
So thriving metropolis.
Yeah.
It wasn't, though, when I joined. They were in League One. They were struggling a little bit.
So similar to real life.
Yeah. I steadied the ship. I got them up by the playoffs the first season with a very young squad. But it wasn't until I hit the championship that I really found my groove. We were solid at the back. And the reason we were solid at the back was because of this player, Mr. Cameron Carter-Vickers.
Oh, really? Was he at Celtic now, ex-Spurs?
He is at Celtic now. So he was on loan from Spurs in that season. And he helped me to the most amount of clean sheets in championship history. by being an absolute wall in the back four. His contract ran out at the end of the season with Spurs, so I picked him up on a free. We ended up winning the Premier League a few years later and got to a Champions League final, which, let's be honest, he's not going to do with Celtic. So,
but Barnsley was the better option at that. But yeah, it is madness. It just goes to show what you can do with Barnsley. But in real life, Celtic have got no shout whatsoever.
The thing is with Barnsley is that, you know, they became part of the big four. Like Man U, they'd push Man U out. Barnsley were like the team, you know, like when I had gone for a bit of a poor run of games, I think I was sitting 5th in the Premier League and they were touting for me to be sacked. They had like the list of potential successors. You know, Pep Guardiola was one of them.
Yeah, I like it when stuff like that happens.
Granted, Frank Lampard was another one, so you know it is a little bit of a
swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
But yeah, I just think, yeah, he served me well. He's had a fairly decent career, Cameron Carter, because he had a long time at Spurs where they pretty much farmed him out to every League One and Championship club they could, and now he's doing very, very well at Celtic. Won a league with Celtic, so yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, it's hard not to, isn't it? I've never done Celtic on Football Manager because it's
just think what's at any point. Yeah, I don't see there's any point.
You're playing for a European finish, really, aren't you?
Yeah, although, yeah, that's a good shout. I like that, especially when there's you know, such a journey that you've made together. He'd be the one who's doing his after dinner speaking in years to come, and he would mention the impact you had on his career.
Yeah. It'd be like the way Carlton Palmer speaks about Ron Atkinson.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Okay, well, my defender is definitely an old school football / championship manager legend, which, excuse me. So when I used to play, I'd always take on, like, Millwall was one of my favourites. They would always be lower league, championship, low budget. One of the first things I would try and do, there was always a handful of players that were on a free. And if you could get them, not only would they really perform for you, within a year or two, someone would offer big money and it'd help finance you going forward, right? The main one was, one of them was Pep Guardiola, actually. He was always on there. But the main one, who I'd always go for first, because if you got in quick, he would sign for anyone. It didn't matter the level of quick. You just had to hit the wages before other offers came in. And it was Taribo West.
Yeah.
Absolute legend. Like, so you play centre back or left, or left back, but sort of not nowhere near a winger or really a full back. So it was like, I'd always play 3 at the back anyway, right? He was always you kind of like average, 7.5, 7.6, maybe higher, nodded in the odd goal, the odd reckless red card, but I allowed it because I liked his hair. And, but he would always, be just a star performer. And like I say, when you got that deal over the line, there were a lot of handshakes in the boardroom that day, I'll tell you. And it was, it was a message of intent from like the new manager, new kid on the block, like the Millwall fans. Obviously, we know they're very demanding, amongst other things, but like they were waiting to see what this, this young hotshot manager's going to do. Straight out of the blocks, bang, Taribo West. What are you saying now, bitches? No, don't say that. But what I'm saying now. Yeah, so
he's a bit of a legend on Championship Manager as well, isn't he?
Yeah, that's I you've gone really personal in it, and I suppose I have, but I kind of, it's one of those things because there wasn't like Google and all that. It wasn't like you hit cheats or wonder, top 5 wonder kids or whatever when I played it. So it's just that thing that you realize after many years, and now when people talk about it in a retro kind of way, you realize there's 4 or 5 players that everybody found and had that as like the backbone of their team, which is I think that's insane. Whereas now you'd get, I guess people just go wonder kids, like put them in the search engine and whip them up and chuck them in a crash or whatever. But like, back then it wasn't that easy. So it's quite impressive that these players all came to the fore and all became these legends. No, I mean, I don't think any of them did it in real life. Is the thing, which shows you the accuracy of this particular game. But at the same time, it is addictive. So yeah, Taribo West, football manager / championship manager, legend. He is my defender.
I like it. I'm going to go for the first midfielder, but I'm going to introduce a new feature that we're going to try and stick to called Tweet of the Week. So basically, I'm going to say a tweet from the next member of my team that they have genuinely put it up onto X or Twitter. It would have been at this point, and you've got to guess who it is. I can't imagine you're going to be getting it right, but we'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Sound self-explanatory?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Okay, so the tweet is, them two travelled the whole country looking for a contract and ended up at Palace.
Ooh. And this is a midfielder.
Midfielder, striker.
Oh God, be here all day. No, I feel like I've heard that quote, but I've got no idea who it is.
If you want to, it's about Paul and Thomas Ince.
I guess that bit. Yeah, I'm trying to think who it would be though. Who was with him at the time?
Guest from Under the Cosh as well.
I don't narrow it down. I've got like 300 episodes.
Yeah,
that's probably where I've heard it. Yeah,
quite an infamous guess.
Oh, infamous. Oh, I can't put me.
Sure.
Put me out of my misery, mate. Who is it?
It is Mr. Leon Knight.
Oh, mate. Yeah, I wouldn't have got it, but yeah, I've definitely heard him say it. He's definitely I don't know why you got him in midfield, but either way, that is, he's definitely one of those, because he's like Chelsea youth to start with on the old game. Then Swansea, weren't it?
Yes, I'm pretty sure with Akinfenwa, Trundle, and Rory Fallon.
Yeah. So he's a absolute, again, another one, absolute baller on the game, but not as much. Although we hear people say they played with him, they was great. As you say, it's only you can come. I suppose the thing, short of a handful of things, there aren't that many players with a mentality problem in Football Manager.
Yeah,
whereas in real life, it's not that easy, is it? So
when you're generated by AI, right, it's pretty easy to
relatively agreeable.
Yeah, exactly. I had him on Football Manager 2006.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the first Football Manager I played, and it was my brother's old game.
Yeah.
And I was Rushden and Diamonds in the Conference Premier.
Cool. Hardcore, mate.
They had a bit of money behind them on the game. Don't know. I'm pretty sure they did in real life, but all the money got pulled out. But they'd basically invested a lot of their money into Football League players and made them drop down to the Conference Premier. Right midfield, Leon Knight scored 22 goals for me.
Good season.
Very good season. Played a classic 4-4-2. Leon Knight on the right-hand side. Simeon Jackson up front with Michael Rankin, I believe. Big man, little man up top. Leon Knight just playing right midfield, but sort of doing what he wanted, really.
It's five-a-side. He's just going to whip in and out. And he's, good quick feet, all that kind of stuff. So low centre of gravity, like everyone who's ever played for Swansea, apparently. And then, nice. Yeah, nice pick. I like that. That's good.
Yeah. And obviously, if anyone wants to, it was very difficult to get a Leon Knight tweet, which wasn't extremely controversial. So if anyone is interested in reading his views on other footballers or the female game, then, check him out.
But his views and beliefs have got nothing to do with this podcast, right?
Exactly that. I actually think Alex Scott's quite good at her job. So
There's so much bitterness from these fucking male players about, you listen to someone. But what makes me laugh is when you've got someone like, and no offense, but Michael Dawson breaking down a Champions League game, and then someone's got the audacity to say these women never played at this level. You're like, mate, you're a cart horse at a very average Tottenham team. Like, it's like, I've got no problem with you talking about football, but you can't have that argument. There's only so many Souness's or Keanes or Scholes's and all those kind of things. So hang on a sec. Lenny!
Jason's assistant manager.
Do you know, he's the Roy Keane to my Paul Lambert. It just barks at everyone.
You're just Roy Keane. You're Roy Keane and your Deodoras, mate, taking Lenny out for a walk.
Mate, I'm a comedian. I'd love to be able to afford Deodoras. Yeah, no, it's a good shout. Leon Knight, it's a good player.
Good, man. Right, you go for it. What are you saying?
Again, another legend. My midfielder is I was sort of caught between the two, but the one that first came to my mind was a guy called Mark Kerr. Scottish international. Again, similar thing. It was big money. He didn't have much of a budget, but you would get him for about 2.5, 2.6 million. 3 million was pushing it, but you knew he was worth it in the long run. From Falkirk, I believe, was the team he was at the time, and he's like 17. So it felt like big money, but this guy was like lower league Roy Keane, just dominated matches. Like, he'd chip in with goals, assists. Found it a bit harder if you got yourself promoted, but then he was just a bit of a stalwart there. I mean, you needed a bit of flair by him. But yeah, he was always Taribo West, get that one over the line while you still had the wages for it. Mark Kerr, you needed the transfer fee, but the wages were reasonable. He was a legend to me. It was between him and Michael Stewart, who was a Man United youth player. So when I started playing, he was in the reserves at United at that point, so you could get him cheap. But Mark Kerr just edged him. He was because he was more of a central midfielder, box to box, bit of everything, mate. Yeah, sprinkle a bit of stardust on that team, mate. He was my leader. He was my voice on the pitch, making sarcastic jokes. Yeah, Mark Kerr. Yeah, absolute legend. I think he went on to do predominantly around. I think might have ended up at Motherwell and places like that. But yeah, honestly, when you're in on the basic game, the old game, you didn't have much of a budget. Some of the Scottish players you could whip out for fairly low money and sell on, or just get the performance out of them. That was kind of a really good breeding ground for these players. So yeah, Mark Kerr, I salute you, sir. Me and him as my captain. Honestly, the stories we could tell you. Done it all, mate. Done it all.
I've gone for Giovanni Dos Santos.
Ah, yeah. Again, another should have been, but wasn't.
Yeah. So he was part of my Barnsley team as well.
Was he on loan there then? Did you bring him in, or was he there when you set the game up?
So I brought him in. It was my sort of
your
signing.
Connections.
Basically, he'd not been long released by Tottenham.
Yeah.
To sort of 2012, I would say. Signs for me. He's part of that Cameron Carter-Vickers side that really pushed on in the Championship.
The Barnsley legends.
Yeah, he contributed a lot of goals, a lot of assists. I mean, it was him sort of playing out wide, feeding balls into Sam Winnell up front.
Yeah.
And yeah, he had a very good, he won a Champions League, he won a Premier League. In real life, he actually went on to play for Mallorca, Villarreal, LA Galaxy, and America before retiring in 2021. But for me, he even became part of the coaching staff. So, yeah,
mate, family. When you work with Aaron, you are family. Like you are just
you're with me for life. I'll retrain you as a fullback before I let you retire.
Yeah, amazing. Nothing pisses me off more. I had one game where I had Kylian Mbappe, and he decided he wanted to be a right back, and I was like, "Fuck off! You're on 500 grand a week." Yeah, no, nice, good. So yeah, my next player is my favorite football /championship manager player of all time. Not just because his name is awesome, but the things this guy would do on a pitch and the stats he would throw up and the things he's won me single-handedly is a player called Tonton Zola Mukoko. Now, this guy, when you signed him, he was always at Derby and you could get him for about $250,000 because his stats were terrible.
Right.
There's nothing about, and again, like, so what I would do is have basically a 3-4-3, but one was just sat back behind the front two, right? In the hole. You would put him in there. He could not play anywhere else. That's all he could do. Drop him in behind two strikers. And this guy is like averaging a goal a game easily. But like to look at his stat, I don't think his value would ever go over, like, even in the old days, like would never go over about 3 million because on paper he was shit.
Yeah.
But this guy was just insane. He was Swedish, I believe. I don't know how he ever ended up at Derby, but whatever, especially at that time, it wasn't like they had the extensive scouting networks they've got now. But yeah, basically what you said, like, it's quite sad really, because I looked at his career and honestly, this guy was just insane. I think on his Wikipedia page, it literally mentions that more about Football Manager than it does his actual career. But he was at Derby from 2000 2002, made 0 appearances. He then went to Karlstad United. No idea.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Made 43 appearances there. Then Sleep, Sleipner. Then they get harder to pronounce as it goes on, right? So in his whole career, he made 117 appearances for teams nobody's ever heard of. Basically, someone's emptied a Scrabble bag and made up a football team. And then that was his lot, right? 117 games, 10 goals. Where honestly, mate, he would do 35, 40 plus goals a season in Football Manager. So makes me sad. I don't know what he's up to now. I haven't bothered checking. Yeah, literally on his Wikipedia.
An agent.
Is he?
He's an agent.
The tabs on his Wikipedia page are career, personal life, and championship manager. The career and the personal life. Our championship manager, where does it say? Achieved fame through his depiction as one of the best players in Championship Manager. He was frequently telephoned by fans of the game who have also set up dedicated Facebook groups. Now, yeah, for me, the greatest in terms of value for money, what he would deliver on any stage, like every level. You literally pluck him out of the Derby reserves, and then by year 2, 18, 19 years old, absolutely bossing games. But yeah, so a sad tale of woe for him, but yeah, an absolute legend.
Beautiful. We've got 3 minutes to name our strikers.
You better get on with it then.
So I have gone for Yaya Sanogo.
Ooh.
So probably most well known for being at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Between 2013 2017. He was at Crystal Palace for me. He was part of that immense Crystal Palace side where he had a formidable strike partnership with some unknown Scandinavian bloke called Erling Haaland. This was before he was a global megastar.
That's why he's at Palace. Yeah.
And they absolutely just tore through the league for me. Multiple goals between them. Both scored well over 20 goals within a season. He was fantastic. Again, a player that I kept with me. Didn't sell him on. Kept him with me throughout his career. He won the Champions League with me. He won the Premier League with me twice, which is no surprise that he ended up playing for Qingdao Red Dragon in the Chinese Super League. And he moved there from Uratu, who are in the Armenian Premier League.
Again, when Red Dragon come calling, when Red Dragon come calling, mate, you're not going to turn him down, are you?
He's 31 years old.
Wow.
Right, Jay, you've got a minute and a half. Who are you going for?
The man, the myth, the legend, Cherno Samba.
Yeah, of course you have.
Had to, mate. Again, I used to start off on Millwall because they had a nice little foundation. He was a youth team player. I think he's like 16 when the game starts when I was playing it. And yeah, would just bang goals in, just get better and better, become a recognised England international. You'd be knocking back bids all over the place for him, but he was loyal, smash goals in for fun. And then again, similar to Makoko, in his real career, he never made an appearance for Millwall, went to Cadiz, didn't play for them.
Yeah, I signed him from Cadiz on PES. For my Master League team, he was at Cadiz. I remember that.
Yeah, he ended up only playing 52 games in his career, scored 15 goals, which isn't actually a bad return, but then 11 of them were at Malaga B on loan. So he did have a prolific spell at Plymouth Argyle where he scored 1 in 13. But other than that, yeah, I'd just like to thank him for the good times. I don't care what happened in his real life, but virtually, put your medals on the table, Cherno. You've got nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, so that was Football Manager. We will hopefully see you next week as well. Might do it over Zoom while Jason's on a ship. We might do it in person. Or we might find other hosts